Hey guys, here's a quick demo of the project we're going to build in this course. So the project is called Job, and it's a simple job board where people can sign up and post available jobs. So you can see here, you can see the newest jobs on the front page. You have a login and sign up button and a little bit information about the different jobs like the location, the salary and similar. And if you go into the detail, you can see a little bit more information here, and you can also apply it to the job, which will just send an email. Then you have the browse page where you can filter on categories, and you can also search for the jobs like that. And when I log in, then if I scroll down again, you can see that I have my jobs. Not that I have anyone right now, but I can also click create job to create one. Just fill in some random information like that and submit. And then I have my jobs. I can edit this and I can also delete it. And if I now go to the front page, this job is also listed here. So in this course you will learn things like authentication, how to work with an API, separating the front end and the back end, and similar. For the backend, we are going to use Django and Django Rest Framework, and for the front end, we are going to use Nuxt 3, which is a framework on top of Vue 3. In order to follow along on this tutorial, you should have already know the basics of Django and Vue, but maybe you will be able to follow along anyways. I'm not going to bore you with any more information now, so let's just jump right into it. So I have created a simple to-do list, as you can see here. And by going through this, we will be able to build the project piece by piece, and hopefully you will be able to follow along. So I'll begin by just setting up the front end and then some static pages, and then we will just continue and build one piece by piece. So as you can see here, we are implementing the backend later, make it possible to create jobs, and then we're going to handle the authentication at the end before we make it possible to edit, delete, and similar with the information. So let's just begin with setting up the front end. So we can begin by creating an empty project. So if I just go to the command line, I'm now inside a folder called job. And then I just say npx nuxt init job underscore front end. And if I go to the browser again, you can see that under here on nuxt.com, you can see how to install this and how to create a new project and similar. And this is the command I was using. So then I can just hit enter. And then you need to install the following packages. Nuxt, yes, I want to proceed. Invalid command, okay. Sorry, should be init, of course, like that. So now this has created a project with this template. Next step is to go into this and then install the packages using one of these three. I just like to use npm install, so just copy and paste. Okay, my net just crashed, so let me just try to install this again. npm install. Okay, now that everything there is installed, we can try to run it by saying npm run dev. So then I can copy this address and go to the browser and hit enter. So now I can say welcome to Nuxt. Remove this page by replacing blah blah blah. Okay, so that means that I can go to the to-do list, set this task to done, and this, because now we can run the project as well. Next step then is to install Tailwind, but I also want to shoot in install Pinia, which is a state management system for Nuxt, because I don't want to use the built-in here, because Pinia is a little bit more advanced and makes it easier to do what we are going to do. So we can begin by installing Pinia by going back here and stopping this. I say npm install Pinia and at pinia/nuxt and hit enter. Okay, that did not work. Okay, let me go to the browser and see here. npm install, it should be the correct one. Sudo. No, this this is not working. Yes, okay. It's because I need to do this. Sorry. So let me just go to Visual Studio Code, open up this and package.json. And then at the bottom, I can say overrides, view, latest, and save. So then I can try to run this command again. Now the error did not come. Perfect. So now we should have Pinia on our project as well. So let me set this to done, and then it's Tailwind. So then I need to go to the installation page here and find the bottom. No, there should be something for Nuxt here, I think. Nuxt, install Tailwind CSS with Nuxt, Nuxt 3. I have done this and I have done that. So then it's these. Can begin with this one. Copy, go here, paste. And then the next command will be to initialize Tailwind CSS. Go back here, just wait for the installation to finish. Okay, so then we initialize it, created a new file, tailwind config. I think that will be here now, tailwind config, yes. So let's go back here again. So then I need to add Tailwind to your post CSS. Okay, so open up Nuxt config, paste these 5 lines, 6 lines, yes. So Nuxt config, paste it in here. And save. So go back here again, need to configure my template paths. So let me copy this. This should be in the Tailwind config file. So just replace the content and save. So now that should be done. And then add the Tailwind directives to your CSS. So I need to create this file, assets css main.css. Just copy these 3 lines. And then in the folder here, assets, css, and main.css. Save. So paste and then save, of course. And then add the CSS file globally. So above the post CSS in the Nuxt config. Then that should be available, which just points to this file. And start your build. Okay, let's just try this. So we can run the project again. Everything there seems to be okay. A couple of warnings. No utility clauses. Okay. Let me just go here, copy this, and then we're going to find app.view. So app.view can replace the Nuxt welcome with this lines. Save. Go back here, welcome. Does that look okay? Yes, text 3XL, font bold, underline, text blue 500. Yes. So now Tailwind is also working. Nice. So I can just close all of this, set this to done, set this to done. Nice. Before I continue, I just want to say thanks to all of my patrons. If you too want to support me, you will find a link in the description below. So now it's time to set up the layout. So I want to have a menu and footer, etc. So if I open up app.view again, I can just remove the things we added here. And then here I want to say Nuxt layout. And then in here, Nuxt page. So what this does is that now it takes the default layout file, which I will create very soon. And in there it adds this, which loads everything for us and shows the router, which makes it possible to go from page to page and similar. So if I now in the root folder create a new file called layouts layouts, and then a new file, default.view. I think I can just default now. I think this will give me an error because I can't do it like this, but if I add something there, no, okay, it's not working. Just say, sorry, template, and then div default. Let me try that. Yes, so now it was working. It was just missing the template tag. So now this comes from this file because we have the next layout there. So if I then go back here again, we can begin by adding the menu at the top. So nav class p-6, there's a space inside, flex and items center because I want a logo to the left and buttons to the right. And I want some space between these, so justify between. And I want to set the background to be a dark teal color, so BG teal 800. Can just close this for now. And then on the left side here, I set the next link. So this is similar to the router link and similar in the default or in the standard view. You can just go to slash, which will be the front page. Class text XL, so it's a little bit large, and text dash white, and just job. So if I save this now, go back, then you can see the teal color here, and then a link to the front page. So then I can add 2 buttons or links on the right side. So div class, I want to use flex here as well, items center, and space dash x4, so it has some space between the 2 buttons in the menu. And then create a new next link to, this can just go to the front page for now, class text white, hover text teal 300, so that we have some effect when we have the mouse over this, home. And then we can duplicate this, and this can go to slash browse, and just replace the browse there, browse, and save. So if I now go back, we have these 2, and when I have the mouse over, the color changes. Nice. Okay, so in the middle here, we want to have a slot available for putting data into. So we just say slot. So when we use this component, or whatever you want to call it, all information you put into that will just be rendered in here, and then the rest will come from this default file. So let's create a footer at the bottom as well. Footer class p-6, flex wrap. We need this for mobile optimization. Flex wrap, items center, justify between, BG gray 900, and then in here on the left side I just want a simple copyright information, so P class text gray 300 and copyright right C 2023 job. So that is rendered here on the left side, and then on the right side here I wanted 2 login buttons as you saw in the demo. So below here you need to add a new div, just like you did up in the menu, with the flex empty-6. So when you are on a mobile, this will go below this here in the menu, so we need some space up to it. But when you are on a medium screen or up, we can just say empty-0. Items should be set to center, so they're on the same height, and space x4. And then we can create a new next link to slash login class py-4 px-6, so we have space on the top and bottom and on the left and right side. Set the BG teal 900, so we have a background color, and hover BG teal 700, so it's a little bit lighter when we have the mouse hovering. Set the text to be white and rounded corners like that. Log in. You can see what this looks like. Yes, I have a dark green colored button which would take us to the login page when we create that. So make a copy of this, replace the title with sign up, and this should also go to /sign up. And I want a different background color here. This can be BG Teal 600, and I can have the same hover color. So if I now save, we have these two here. Nice. So that means that now I can set this task here as well to done, and then we can begin with the front page. So then you will understand more about how this is working. So if I just open up the browser here again, then I can create a new file here. So a new folder called pages, and then a file called index.view. So Nuxt will now automatically create the router file for us, so we don't have to think about this. So pages will be just slash or the empty path like we have in Django, so it's just the front page, and the index file there will be automatically loaded. So if I here now say template and then p front page. So if I now go back, refresh, then we see that the front page, this line is rendered here. So everything we put inside template here will be rendered inside this slot here. So I can just close these so I don't have to think about them. And then we can begin creating the static front page. So here we have an empty div. And then div class py20. This is, here we have the header on the front page. px6, bg teal 700. And I want the text to be centered, so text center. Then here we have h1 class, mb-12, text 5 times XL, and the text should be white. Find a job anywhere. So let me see if this is working. Yes, so you can see that you have the py20 above and below, and it's set to bg teal 700, and it's centered. And then this also have a margin bottom 12, so you can see it's a little bit more here than above. And it's white and very large. So below here I want a button to go to the browse page. So you can just a next link to /browse class. Set this to be inline block because this is normally just inline block and an inline element, but I want it to have a block so that the margins are respected by the browser. So py-4 px8. You can set the bg to be the background to be bg teal 900, text white, rounded -xl, and the title in here can be browse. Just remove this, should not be there. If I save now, you can see here that I have this button, which will take us to the search page. Nice. And then below here, I just want to statically make it possible to show a few jobs. So below this div, we create a new div, set the class to be py10 and px6, so the same space on the sides as up here. And then we have the title first, h2 class, mb-8. Text 2 times XL and text center. Newest jobs. So now we get this title down here, and then I want a list of jobs below here. So to create a new div, set the class to be space-y4, so I have some space between the jobs. So later I will create a loop here, but we can create a few hard-coded jobs now. So div class py6 px6, okay, that can actually just be p-6 when I think about it. Want to flex, since we want things next to each other. Items center, justify between, justify between. And I want the background to be bg gray 100 and rounded XL. And then on the left side, I want the job position and the company name. So just create a div like that. And h3 class mb-2 text XL, font semi-bold, and then the job position. Below here I want the company name, so P class text gray 600, so we dim it out a little bit. The company name, you can see what this looks like. Yes, we have it here, the spacing here, and then the title and the company name. And then here I want the location and the salary. So create a new div, P class MB-2, so we get some space below this, worldwide, and then this can just have a P, 90 to 120k or whatever. So now this is all the way over there because we have this justify between, but when we have one more div, this will be centered, and we have one more on the left side. So div P class, okay, this doesn't need any class, posted December 1st 2022, or whatever the way you want the date to be formatted. And then on the right side I just want a button for going to the details page. So div next link to this can go to /browse/1, which is the hard-coded way to go into the details page for now. We need some classes here, py-4, px6, and then we need to set the background color to BG 700. We can set the text to be white, and we want rounded corners, so rounded XL. So now we have the details button as well. So if I make a copy of this, paste it a couple of times, then we can see that there are space between these, and that is the space -y4 we added up here. So now we actually have a very simple static front page. Great. So then I can go to the to-do list, set this task to done. And then the next step is to create a static browse page. So we can go back here again now. And then I can create a new file here, browse.view. So now the URL for this will automatically be browse. So if I just create a new template, p browse, and if I now just click this, then I will be sent and see this. Nice. So we can begin by creating up a grid now, because I want something on the left and then the jobs on the right here. So div class grid, and then on large screens we want the grids to have 4 columns. So grid calls 4, gap 3, py can be set to 10 and px 6. And then on the left side we can set div class, and only on large screens or medium screens and above we say call span 1, because I want to take one of these 4 available columns, px 6, py 6, pg till 700, and rounded XL left. So then we have this one, which takes up approximately 1/4 of the screen. And then on the other side we can say div class md call span 3 right. So now this fills out all the way there. And if I open up the inspector and go down to a small screen, you can see that it fills out the whole screen, because this is only added when you are medium and above. So if I open up this bigger now, you can see that it goes like this. Nice. So let's add a little search bar here and a list of categories. So inside here we create a new div, class flex space x4. Oops. And then I want the input here, so input type search, and when you use type search, it's a typical input field, but you get an extra cross there, so you can cross or remove the search you have done. So I can say placeholder, find a job, like that, and now we need some classes on this. So W full, so it fills out the whole block there, or at least as much as possible. PX6, PY4, and rounded -XL. Then we can close it. So if I save this now, you can see it fills out the whole block there. And if I start writing, I get this X here. And that is because we have input type search instead of input type text. And then next to this, I want a button. So button class PX6, PY4, BGTL900. And the text can be white and rounded XL. And then in here, I want a simple SVG or icon. So I just go to hero icons and search for search. Then I can copy the SVG for the magnifying glass and paste it in here. Save. So if I now just go back to localhost, you can see that we get the button here with the search icon inside. Nice. Then below here, I want to show some categories, and I want a little separator in here. So below this div here, we say HR class MY6 opacity -30, because I don't want this to be very visible. And then below here, we have a new title class MT6 text -XL and text white. Categories and save. So now we get the title there, a little bit below the HR. And then here I can show a couple of categories just hard-coded. Div class MT-6 and space -Y4, so there's some space between the categories. P class PY-4, PX6, text white, and rounded XL, category 1. So then I have one category there, nice. And let me make a copy of this. 2, 3. So then we have the categories there as well. Great. So then I want to show some jobs here. Let me just copy them from the front page. I can actually just copy this whole div here, all the way down to there, copy, and paste it in there. So if I save now, go back, you'll have the jobs here as well. Nice. So now I have a simple browse page as well, so we can set the next task to done. Then we can continue building the detail page. So when we click one of these jobs, we want to show the detail page for that job. So to do that, we need to create a new folder. Actually, I need to redo this a little bit. So here I want to create a new folder called browse. Move this into there. The problem now is that to access this, you need to go to browse/browse. But if I replace this with just index, then this will be the same as this. But the URL would still be browse. So every time we go to a URL, it either tries to find index.view in the folder or the name of the file. So to create a detail page, you need to add dynamic data to the URL, like you saw here when you have one. And to do that, we need to create a file with the curly braces id.view. So now this will automatically look for this file, put the ID here, and then we will get it through the router. So here we can pass in the template. Div class py10, px6. I want a grid here as well. So grid and md grid calls 4 gap 3. Because I want the information on the left and some information on the right side. So I can begin with one of these. So div class md call span 3, and then the h1 title, h1 class mb-6 text 3xl, the title. So if I now just save this, refresh, that did not work. ID, go back home, let me just try details. Okay, so now it's working, but the refresh function isn't working, so I need to come back to that. So because if I now click this, this is working now. Okay, so let me come back to the other things later. So if I go back to Visual Studio Code, then below here we want to add a P, the description of the job. And below here we can have the apply button. So href. This doesn't have to go anywhere right now. Set the class and then inline block. And mt-6 py-4 px-6 bg teal 700. The text needs to be white, and we want rounded corners as well. Apply. So then we have this here, and then on the right side we want some details about the job. So I can copy this, paste it below here, and replace the call span with 1. And then we want the title at the top. So h3 class mb-6, so a space below, text to Excel, company. So this is now information about the company. P class mb-2, company name. P location, so this is then the location for the company. Actually, I want some background color on this and change this a little bit. So we need to add some spacing here. px6, sorry, p-6, bg teal 700, text white, rounded Excel. So it's just the same as the browse page, you can see here. And then below here, we want some more information. So let's add an HR class my-6. Opacity 30. Then I can copy this, paste it, replace this with the position, and copy this, paste it here, replace with position, position location. And we can also copy this, so I don't need to copy salary, and then one more HR, because below here we want to show the date when this was posted. So P class posted, posted at and December 1st 2022. So now it looks like this. We don't need anything more here, just for this example here. So now we have everything information we need about the job. And we click here, we should send an email to the owner of this company. So that was the static detail page. Then I want to create the static login page. So in the root pages folder, I create a new file, login.view. Create a template file. And I guess I can copy. Oh, I don't want much of this, but I can copy this. Just paste it like that. So we can just go to the login page. Not working. So there's something weird with this here. There, now it was working. Page not found. Okay, yes, I will look into this later. But anyways, the login page is here now, so we need to work with that. So here's the div class max w. So the max width of this div should be small, and then max auto, so we center it on the screen. Set the py to be 10 and px 6 on this one as well. pg gray 100 and rounded -xl. Then in here I want the title, so h1 class mb-6 text to XL log in. So if I now go back, you'll see this box we created centered on the screen with the title there. Below the title I want a form, so form input type should be email. Set the placeholder to be your email address, and we want a classes here, so w full, so it fills out the whole box, mb-4 py-4 px6 and rounded-xl. So you can see what it looks like there. You can make a copy of this for the password, your password, like that. And then below there we want a button for submitting this. So button, button class py-4 px-6 pg teal 700, text should be white, and rounded-xl for the corners. Submit. Nice. So that's everything we need there now. It doesn't look very impressive, but it's working. So that means I can go to the to-do list again, set this to done, and then next step is to create a static sign-up page. So now this will be very similar to the login page, so it makes sense to just copy everything here, create a new file, and save it as signup.view. So then I can replace the title with sign up. I still need the email, but I need 2 password fields. So we have the your password, but one more for a repeat password. So that's everything we need there. Go back, sign up, there. So then we have the email, password, repeat password. Great. We don't need anything more now. So let's set this to done. Next step is then to create a static page for creating jobs. So I can copy a little bit of this here. I can copy this. And then go back here again, and in the pages folder, create a new one, create job.view, paste, close the template. And then here we can begin with the title, h1, class, mb-6, and text to XL, create job. So I need to go to this by saying create job. Now we have the title there. Nice. And then below here I want a form. So let's go back here and say form class space dash y4, so there's a space in between each of the elements in here. Div. And then I want the category first, so label category. And then select class w full empty -2 p-4 rounded XL BG gray 100. And then a few options. We can begin with the option for empty, option value, set this to be empty. Select category. And then we copy this, paste, cat in, cat2. We will get this category from the server later. Category 1, category 2. So if I go back now, you can see here to get this drop down list. Nice. And then I want the one field for the title and one for the description. So copy this. Title. This should be input field. So input type text. And we can set the class to be double full. Actually, I just copied the class from up here. Close and close that div. So then we have this as well. Then we can copy this for the description. So copy, paste. The description. This should be a text area. So text area. The class can be like that. And now we just close the text area. So if I save now, go back, we have this here as well. And then we can do this for the other fields as well. So just copy this again, paste. Salary. I don't need to do some changes here yet. And then one for the company name. And then one for the company location. I want one for the company email where the apply button should be sent to. Company email. And then, yes, that's actually it. No, we need one for the location. So let me move this up a little bit. That can be together with the salary. Location, like that. So now we have very much information we can fill out about the job. So now we just need a submit button at the bottom. I can copy this from the login page. So copy and paste. Like that. So now we have the create page as well. This will also be used for the edit page. But I can now set this to done. So then I can start to create a static page for my jobs. And by the way, if you made it this far, could you please help me out by adding a comment and like this video? This would really help me out. So if I now just go to create job and copy this, then create a new file, paste it there and save it as myjobs.view. Then I can actually go and close this just for testing, close the template and replace this here with my jobs. So if I save now, go back to the browser, replace the with /myjobs. You can see the title there. And then I want to list out the jobs here. So to do that, I can open up the browse page or the front page, whatever you want, and just copy this div class space y with each of the jobs inside. Oops. Like that. And paste this below here. So if I just fix this indentation and save, then I can go back here and you will see the jobs that belongs to me. Here I also want a edit button and a delete button. So if I make a copy of this one, edit, and one for delete. Then we need to change this a little bit. The delete button can be BG rows 700 and this can be cyan or whatever you want. But you also need some space between these buttons. So here we can say class space x4. Nice. Better. But you need to do this for all of the jobs. Why doesn't the indentation work? Save. Okay, so now it looks much better. So now all of these pages should be finished more or less as static versions. Then I want to make a job position should be a comment, because we are now reusing the same code multiple places. It's not good to have this code many places in the project. So to fix this, in the root folder job frontend, we create a new folder called components, and then in here a new file called job.view. Here I can just copy one of these jobs, move it from there, say template, and paste it like that. So if I now save it, I can remove these two other jobs, save, and if I now go to the front page, the jobs are gone. But then when I just say /job like that, then I have one job here. So I can copy this, paste, and then I have 3 jobs. Nice. So we have to work with making this more dynamic later. And if I then copy this also for the browse page, so we don't need the jobs here. So now the code will be much more maintainable, and same with my jobs. The problem here is that we have these 3 buttons as well. So how do we fix this? We need to add a property to the job.view. So at the top here, we create a new script element, script setup, and then we say const props equals define props. So this is how you define properties in Nuxt, and the property we want is my, because we want to set this to true or false if it's my job or not. So type should be boolean, and that's everything we need there. So we don't have any errors now. No, perfect. And then here, let me copy this and just paste it here. So now all the jobs should have this one. If I now go here, you can see that front page are having this, which is not good. That is not what we want. We want to hide these 2 buttons if it's not my job. So to do that, I go back to the job.view again, and then here I can say v-if my, copy, paste, save, and if I now go to the front page, those buttons are gone. If I go to the browse page, the buttons is gone, but if I go to my jobs, they are gone here as well. Let me just remove the hard-coded one here at the bottom. So now the buttons are totally gone. But if I here say :my to true, then this will have it. So now I can just do the same thing for all of these. Nice. So now it's a little bit more dynamic. We are also going to use a property for the job so we can have this information more dynamic. But that's for later in this project. Right now we can just close all of these, go back to the to-do list and set this to done. Great, so now I want to start implementing the state management for users. So I want to make the browser know if the user is logged in or not. So to do that we need to create a new store by going to the Visual Studio Code here. And then in the root folder we create a new folder called stores. And then in here a file called user.js. And I want this to import something from Pinia by saying import define store from Pinia. And then we create the user store by saying export const use user store equals define store. So now we have defined the store. Now we can specify what data, those are the ID for this. So ID user. So now this is the ID for this store. And then set up the state to tell the Pinia what we want to store. State colon parentheses equals like that. And then we want one user object in here. And this user should have the is authenticated. Can be set default to false. We want to store the email. Default is to null. And we want to store the token we get from the server as well. So null. So this is all information we need in this state right now. And in addition to having the state here, I want to set up the actions for initializing the store, setting the token, and removing the token as well. So we have everything. So we can set up the actions like that. So in here we set up one action called init store for initialize store. And then this just resets everything by saying this.user.isAuthenticated is false, just in case there is something weird happening. And then we can say if we have stored the token inside the local storage. So if local storage.getItem user.token, then we know that we have stored the token in the browser and we can load it from there. And then we can say this.user.token equals, so now we set this value to the thing we get from the local storage in the browser, to that. Copy this. You want to do the same with the email, user.email. And if we have this, then we know that the user is authenticated, and we can say this.user.isAuthenticated equals true. So now everything there should work. And when that is done, I just want to console log this, so console.log, so we can see it in the browser. Initialized user, this.user. Then we get all of the information stored up there. The other action I want to set is the set token. So when we log in, we want to call this function. So set token. We get the token there and we get the email. And then I can just say console.log set token, just so that I know that the function is called token and email, so I can see what we are trying to store here. This.user.token equals token. This.user.email equals email. And this.user.isAuthenticated can be set to true. And also when we do this, we want to store this information in the local storage so that this function will work the next time we refresh or visit the page. So local storage.set item user.token should be set to token. Copy and replace token with email and token with email. Great. The last action we need here is the remove token, so we can log out as well. So remove token. Here we don't need to pass in any parameters. Console.log remove token. And when we do this, we can just say this.user.token equals null. This.user.email can be set to null. And this.user.isAuthenticated to false. We also want to set these two values to empty, so that if you try to refresh after this, this will fail and we will not be authenticated. Great, so this was a little bit complicated and a little much information, but when we start using these, they will hopefully make more sense. So I can close this now and set this to done. So then, as you can see down here, when we are authenticated, I want to replace the two buttons in the footer, these two, with a create job. So to do that, we can go to default.view. Then here, I think I can say template v-if user store.user.is authenticated. So if we are authenticated, this should show. Okay, now we're seeing that this is not, the property user store does not exist. Okay, so then I need to fix that, and I fixed that at the top here. So I need to add a script, setup again. Then I need to initialize it here. So import use user store from @store/user. So this is the folder we created, and this is the JavaScript file, and this is this one. So then we can just say const user store equals use user store. So now we expose it to be used down here in the template. And now this error is gone as well. Get active Pinia was called with no active Pinia. Did you forget to install? No, I didn't forget to install it. But what did I forget to do? Okay, yes, as you can see here, we need to add the Pinia next to the modules list. So if I just open up the Nuxt config, I think it was, yes. Then below here is the modules and paste it. Okay, this should be curly brace and I brackets like that. So then maybe it's working. Refresh, yes, but we are not authenticated now. But if I go back to user, set this default to true, sorry, just this one, because we don't call this yet. Then you can see down here that ASDF is printed. Nice. So then I can continue showing the buttons only in some cases. Template v-else. So if you are not authenticated, we want to show these two buttons. So let me just copy these two and paste it in here. Replace the title of this with my jobs and this with create job. My jobs, create jobs, and save. So that means that now I should be able to go here and I will see my jobs and create job. Nice. And we also want a log out button here. So log out. I will come back to this later. PG rows, it's a red logout button. Nice. I think it's a part later here, make it possible to log out, yes. Okay, so it can just be like it is now. So now I should be able to just close everything here and set this task to done. So then I want to create the backend, or at least start working on the backend. So if I go to the command line, go to the other tab here, you can see here that I have the to-do list and the job front end. So then I can start building the backend. Python 3-m venv, because I want to set up a virtual environment, venv, and then the name env. So then I have it here and I can activate it by saying source env bin activate, and then I can install Django, pip install Django. But I also want to install the Django Rest Framework, so I can just have it again here, Django Rest Framework. And I want to install course headers, Django course headers, and Joser. So everyone knows what Django is. This Django Rest Framework is for creating APIs and handling JSON responses and similar. The Django course headers is to make it possible to allow connections from the front end. We need to do that when we have working with an API. And Joser is there to help us with creating users and similar. So I can just hit enter. Now this will install Django 4.1.7, which is the newest and stable version of Django, and all of the dependencies and also the other packages I added. Nice. So everything is now installed. I created the virtual environment and I installed this. Done. And then I want to create a new empty Django project. So Django-admin start project job _ backend. Go into it. Django backend. Then I can set this to done, and then I want to configure the settings and the URLs, because we need to do some changes here to make Joser and Django Rest Framework work and similar. So if I just go here and open up settings.py, we can begin there. First you need to set something called user create password retype to be false. This is for the sign up for Joser to work. And then we need to add some apps to the installed apps list. first the rest underscore framework and rest underscore framework dot auth token, because we want to work with tokens here. We need to add Joser and the course headers. So now all of the apps are added there. And then we need to set up the course allowed origins. We need to set up the URL for the front end, which is localhost 3000. So course allowed origins. This can be a list if you have an app or similar as well. So http://localhost 3000. Add a comma there since this is a list. And we also need to specify the middleware so that these are taken into consideration before the common middleware. So here is a course headers dot middleware dot course middleware and save. And that's everything we need in the settings file. Then we just need to add some URLs thing. So open up url.py in the job backend folder. Remove this comment. And then at the bottom here, you can say path API/v1 or whatever you want, but this is a great naming convention. Then include joser.urls. So this is now one of the installed apps. You see here I get a warning because I haven't imported include. I need to do that together with path API/v1. This is going also into the same folder. Include joser.urls.auth token. So now everything in the backend is actually handled to make it possible to sign up and log in. There are no errors. Okay, so now I can set this task to done, and I can set this task to done. Great. So now we can soon start making things dynamic. We just need to set up a new app for the jobs. So that should be very quick. We just need to say Python manage.py start app job. So that's that done. Now we add this to the settings installed list here. And that was it for this task. And then I want to set up the database models for the categories and the jobs. So if I just open up the correct file now, models.py inside the job app, then we can say class category, pass in models.model because we want to use this. Title equals models.char field, max length can be 255. And we can also set the class meta because we want to order this alphabetically. So ordering equals title like that. And then I want one more model for the jobs. So class job, pass in models.model. And I want first a reference up to the category. So we need to set up a foreign key. Related name can be jobs, and if you delete a category, you can also delete all of the categories jobs. So just model.cascade. Then I want the title, so just copy this field, and I want the description. So description equals models.text field. Maybe this should be blank equals true, null equals true in case the user don't want to fill it out. And I want one char field for the position salary. And I want one for the position location. And I want one for the company name. And I want one for the company location. And I want one for the company email. Company email. This can actually be an email field and not a char field, so we have some extra validation there. And I want to know when this was created, so created at _at models dot date time field. Auto now add is true, so it's automatically filled out. And then I need a reference to who created this. So created by equals models dot foreign key user related name jobs. And if the user deletes himself, he should also delete all of the jobs. So on delete models.cascade. You can see that I get an error here because I've imported this. So from Django.contrib.auth.models import user. And I can also set up the ordering here because here I want to have the newest jobs first. So class meta ordering minus created at, because I have minus because I want this in descending order. And I also want to add one custom function here because I want to format the date correctly. So def created at formatted, pass in self, and then return default filters dot date, pass in the self created at, self dot created at, which just points up to this, and I want this the format m d comma y. Then I get a new warning here because this is not imported. So let me go to the top here from Django.template. Template import default filters. And this is a typical filter you use in the templates, but you can also do it like this. So that means that now I can run the make migrations, Python manage make migrations, and the migrate script, which will create the job models, the authentication tokens, and everything we need from Joser and similar. So now I can set this task as well to done. Next step then is to make the front page dynamic. And to do that we first need a serializer to convert the data into JSON. So in the Django backend job we create a new file serializers.py. Then here we can import serializers from the REST framework, which will help us to do this from REST framework import serializers. And we also need to import the job model we just created from .models import job. Then we can set up the the serializer class job serializer like that. Here we pass in the serializers.model serializer because we need to use, or we want to use a model to create this. Class meta, specify the model we want to use, which is job, and then which fields we want here. So fields equals ID, we want the title, we want the description, and we want actually, since this is the front page, we don't want to load everything, so it's just ID title, the position salary, the position location, and the company name, and the created at formatted. So now this points to the function or method we created down there. So then I can save this. I think I can just run the server so we have it running. Yes. And then I can set this task to done, and then we need to create a view for getting the data from the database and using this. So here we say from .models import job, and we can also import the category just so we have it for later. From .serializers import job serializer. And then I want to create a new view for the newest jobs. So class newest jobs view, just so I know that this is a view and not a function or similar. Here we pass in API view, and then I get a warning here because I haven't defined this, so we can do that now. I don't need the render method, so here I can just say from rest framework dot views import API view, and then the warning there is gone. And also need to import a few more things from the REST framework for later. Response, import response, and from REST framework dot import status, authentication, and permissions. So that's everything we need to import for now. And then here I need to override the get functionality. So def get self request format equals none. This is just default information. And then I can get the 4 newest jobs from the database by saying job.objects.all and 04. So we only get 4 of the newest jobs. Then we can specify which serializer we want to use. Serializer equals job serializer. Now we just pass in the jobs. And also specify many equals true because this is a list of jobs and not just one job. And then return response. So now we use the other function we imported there. Pass in serializer.data. And now this will give us JSON information about the jobs. And then I want to set up a urls.py file here, urls.py, to keep things as clean as possible. From Django.urls import path, import all the views from the job app from .import views, URL patterns. The path here can be newest, so I point to that one. Views.newest jobs view.as view. And save. The last thing I need to do then is to go to the other URLs file, the main one, and include it here. So path API/v1/jobs. So when you go to API v1 jobs/newest, you'll get the 4 newest jobs. Include job.urls and save. So this is now running, and I think if I go here to this URL, API v1 jobs sorry, I forgot to add newest at the end there. Then you can see here that this is empty. So maybe we should add one before we continue to the front end. To do that, I just need to go to admin.py and register it here. From .models import job and admin.site.register job and save. Then I need to stop the server and create a user for accessing the admin area. So create super user admin and then I can run the server again. So if I now open up the address/admin and log in with the user I just created, then jobs should be available here. Okay, I need to create the categories. I need to import this as well. Admin.site.register category. So now I can just press there and say, for example, IT. And then the title can just be computer engineer, blah, blah, blah. Some random information here. Location, remote, company name, code with Stein, location, Norway, and company email, code with stein@gmail.com. This is created by the admin. So if I now click save, go back to this, refresh, you can see that I get here a JSON list of all of the available jobs, or the 4 newest at least. So now we can finally start working in the front end again. So if I now open up index.view in the pages folder where we have the front page, then I can create a new script up here, script setup. And then to get the jobs, I say const, curly braces, data, jobs. And then we can use a built-in function that Nuxt has, await. So now it won't load any of this before we have gotten the jobs. Use fetch. And then the URL, http://17001 8000 API v1 jobs/newest. Save, go back and go to here, go to the front page. Now we can open up the inspector to see if there are any errors. Open up the console. Okay, no errors here. No match found. Okay, I'll come back to these warnings later. Okay, first I can just fix this one because it's a create job, of course. So then only the logout, it bothers me. So let me just do this, refresh, and now the warnings are gone. Okay, so now we should see here that we are calling this here. That means that the jobs should be loaded. So now I want to loop through them and show them here. So now we only have one job, this one. So if I now go here and say v-4 job and jobs, and I need to say v-bind key job.id, because each of these elements needs to be unique for Vue to work. Save. So that did not work. Console.log jobs. Just want to see what that value. Null. Okay, that didn't get any jobs. Why? Okay, the address I have used here is 8002. Sorry, let me just remove this. Refresh, and now it was loaded. And now we can see one job here, which I got from the backend. Nice. I can remove the console. And now I want to make the job.view dynamic, so that the information we are showing here is actually coming from the server. So to do that, we need to add one more property here. Job type object, like that. I think, at least if I spell it correctly, object. And then we need to bind this as well here. So we -bind job to job. So here just pass in everything we get from there. Okay, so now no errors. That means that now I should hopefully be able to just remove this and say job.title computer engineer is something you get from the server. Nice. Same with this one. Job.company name. Position location. And position salary. And when it was posted. Posted at formatted. Nice. Okay, no, that was not correct. Open up the serializer. Created that, of course. Yes, now we have the date there as well. So now I just want to make this button dynamic as well, so it has the right ID. So if I just say v-bind :2, then I can do it like this, for example, plus job.id. So now you can see that this takes me to the ID 1, but we only have one job, so it's still the correct ID. So now I can set this to done, oops, and this to done. So now the front page is dynamic. Next step then is to make the detail page dynamic. So that means that I should go back to the serializer because I want a separate serializer for the detail page with more information. But we can copy this, say job detail serializer. Here we want the ID, we also want the category. We want the description. So position salary, position location, the company name and the company location, and the company email. And that's everything we need there. Then we can customize the view a little bit. So I still want to use the API view. So let me copy this and say jobs detail view, jobs detail view. And in addition to these three parameters, I want the PK for the primary key. So I get the correct job based on what we have in the URL. Jobs.object.get primary key equals primary key, which we get from the URL. Then we pass in the job into the job detail serializer. Let's import this job detail serializer. And here we do not need to say many equals true. So now I have the view and the serializer. The next step then is the URLs. So we can say path int primary key. So we expect an integer called primary key there. Now we want to use the views dot jobs detail view as view and save. So that was everything we needed in the back end. So then we can go to the front end, which is in the browse, and then this id.view file. Here we also need to create a script. So script setup. Const route, because you need to get the ID from up here. Const route equals use route. This is something that comes from view. No, sorry, from Nuxt. Const data colon job. Then we need to use the await fetch again. So use fetch http ://127.0.0.1 8000 API v1 jobs, and then I need to add the parameter ID here. So slash plus route.params.id. And the reason why this is called ID here is because the file is called ID. So if I save this now, go back and refresh, there are no errors. So now we should hopefully be able to say job.title here, and we get the computer engineer. So now this is loaded from the backend. Nice. So I can start replacing these other hard-coded values. Job.description. Here we want to show the email address. So job.company email mail to, but this will not work. We need to bind this and use JavaScript. So v-bind :href. Make this a string. And then just a plus like this. And then we want to show the company name here. Company name, the company location, and here the position location, in case the position and the company is not on the same place. Position salary, and the created at or posted at, created at, formatted, and save. So if I now save and go back, you can see that all the information that we have here is loaded from the backend. Even this button will be working now. So now the detail page is also dynamic. So I can set this task to done, and this task to done. By the way, if you want to learn even more Django or Vue from me, you should check out my website codewithstein.com. The site has many premium courses and a lot of awesome blog posts. And for as little as $20 per month, you will get access to all of my content, and you will be able to track your progress, you can talk to me and similar. So go to codewithstein.com after the video and sign up. And then the next task is to make the browse page dynamic. So if I open up browse/index.view. But before we do anything in the front end, I want to fix something more in the back end. So I can go to serializer, because now I want to load the categories to the list as well. So let's import that model first, category, and then class category serializer. Pass in serializers.model serializer. Specify the class meta and set the model to be category. And then the fields I want here is the ID and the title. So then I can save that and go to views.py to create a view for this. I can just make a copy of this, paste it at the top and rename it as categories view. Here I want to load the categories instead of the job, of course. So I need to use the category.objects.all and pass in the jobs, the categories into the categories serializer. So let's import that as well. Category serializer, sorry. Like that. So now we have everything there. That means that we can import it to the URLs. Can just add it at the top here. Categories, views.category, categories view .as view and save. So if I now go to the browser, I think I go to API v1/jobs /categories. v1 categories. Okay, sorry, I forgot to add a slash there. Refresh, and then we have it there. 1 IT. Nice. Let's add one more just so we have it. This was supposed to be 8,000. Sorry. So add category, for example, support, and we can have one design. Refresh, and now we have these three sorted alphabetically. Nice. So now I want to load them and show them. Oops, here is something wrong. Cannot read properties of undefined. Okay, yes, this is because we are using the job. Sorry, let me just open up this again. We are using this, but we are not binding it to a job. So that will be the next step then. Before we do that, I actually want to add one more thing in the back end, but we can do the categories first. So that's done. So if I scroll up at the script setup, then we can load the category from the back end. Categories. Just want to add a comment to separate things a little bit. Let data job categories. The reason why I call it job categories instead of just categories is that I'm going to use the categories variable for something else later. Await, use fetch, HTTP ://127.001.8000 API v1 jobs categories. So now this should load the categories for me. So if I then scroll down again, and find the categories here. We can remove 2 of these, add this to a separate line to clean it up a little bit. V-4 category in categories. Sorry, here's the job categories. And then you see I get this warning because this field isn't unique anymore. V-bind key. So you need to bind it to key. I guess a category.id. And then we can show the category title here. So category.title. Refresh, and this still isn't working, so let me just comment out this. So now we get these 3 from the backend. Nice. Okay. So what I want to do then is make it possible to click these and set them as selected. We can do that before we start loading the jobs. So if I scroll up again to here, so I need to do some more Vue or Nuxt programming. So now I want to set up a reference to the selected categories. Let selected categories ref equals ref. This can just be a string which you will pass into the server later. And let selected categories. And this can be a list which we will be able to manipulate and select between the categories we get here. And then I want to create a function we can call when we click one of the categories. So function toggle category. Here we just pass in the ID. And then I want to know if this category we click is in this list of categories already. So const index equals selected categories dot index of ID. So if this ID is in here, then we know that we have selected it already. So if index equals -1, then it's not selected from before. So we can say selected categories dot push ID. And if it's in the list, we want to remove it from there. So selected categories dot splice index -1. So now we remove this index, the index of this list, which is the ID from the list there. And then we can use this to set all the categories from this list there. Dot value equals selected categories dot join. So now this is a string we can pass into the backend. So every time we click one of these categories, we want to call this v-bind, click, v on click is it, of course. Toggle category. And here we want to pass in the category.id. This is something that's added in the browser or my editor, so just ignore it. It should just be toggle category ID. So if I now, here's a console.log, toggle category, and we can print it out as a string like this. So if I click design, you can see toggle category 3. If I click IT, you see 3,1. If I click this again, it says only 3. Nice. But we should also see here which of these are active. So to do that, we can scroll down a little bit again to here. And then we can say v-bind class. So then we bind the attribute this into this. I can use some JavaScript here. bgtil 900. So if the selected categories dot includes category.id. So if this is true, then this class will be appended to this list here. So hopefully if I click, okay, not working. Set of selected categories included is not. So it includes, refresh, click this, not working, okay. Let me just see here, not working, but why isn't it working? It needs to be below there. Yes, of course, this needs to be below this, if not this will just override everything. Or not. Why is this not working? So I have a typo there, not that that matters. Okay, so we bind class. We want to add pgtil900 if the selected categories dot includes the category.id. Let me just copy this and test one thing. Console.log. So here I can test if it's actually in there. True. So why isn't it working down below? Okay, I just need to do one more test here. Can I print this here? Yes, as you can see, I'm not printing there. Okay, now it's working. So I used the wrong variable here. So let me just remove this, refresh. If I now click these, you can see they are working. Nice. Okay, so that means that now I can continue a little bit. So now we can load the jobs from the backend and make that dynamic. So just remove this at the bottom here. Then we can say let data colon jobs equals await use fetch HTTP colon / 127.0.0.1 8000 API v1 / jobs, and then we need to make this work. So if I open up views.py in the job app, we need to create one more view. So I can make a copy of this because it's going to be very similar. This can just be called jobs view, or we can call it browse jobs view because we're going to use this on the browse page. So the get parameter can just be like it is, jobs, but we want to have all and not just 4 of them. And then this can be like it is. And then if I open up the URLs page, that's this one, make a copy of one of these and set this to be empty since this is already have the /jobs, and then browse jobs view as view. So if I refresh now, there are no errors, and if I go here again, we can remove the comment for this. As a v4, actually I want to have this on separate lines. v4 job in jobs, v bind key job.id, and we want to set v bind job to job, so we pass it in. So now it's loading and the error is gone. Nice. So then we need to make it possible to click each of these categories to filter. So I need to add one more job in the backend so it's easier to test this. So for example, this a design job, blah blah blah. Just add some random data here so it's working. Save. If I go back and refresh, then I will have 2 different jobs here. Nice. Okay, so then I want to make it possible to select a category here and update everything. So to do this, it's actually very simple. And to do that, that is a very simple task. We just need to go back to the index view file, and then here add a comma, and then on the next line I say categories colon selected categories ref. So now this should be sent in to the backend. And if I just enter here now, go back and refresh, you can see that we loaded jobs. And if I click one of these, then we loaded the jobs again, and this information should have been sent to the backend. So now I want to handle this there. So if I go back to views.py in the browse page, below here, I can say if categories, then you wonder where do we get this? So I can say categories equals request.get categories. Default is to be empty. So if this is filled out, then we say jobs equals jobs.filter category underscore ID in this list. So categories.split comma. So if the category ID in the database model is inside the list in the URL, then we filter it. So refresh. Okay, this is not working. Yes, because the category is not added to the URLs. So there is something wrong here. Yes, I had a wrong format. This was supposed to be comma query. Like that. I think that should work then. So if I refresh now, click IT, then you can see I only get this one. If I click design, I will get both because it's in one of these two. If I click this one, I only get the design job. And if I'm on support, there are no jobs. Nice. So now the categories is working. Okay. Still need to figure out how to do the query here. So that will be the next step. So if I just go back to views.py, then at the top here, I can say query, just to separate this from the categories. Let query ref. This is now a reactive property. And then I have the let query, which is an empty. And then I want to create a function here. Function perform search. I will show you how to call this very soon. Query ref.value equals query, because I don't want to perform the search every time you type a key. So then we want to call this when we click the button down here. V on click. Then we call the perform search. And then we also need to specify the query here. So query colon query ref. So now this should also be added. Job search. So if I go here now, you can see that the query is empty. Yes, I need to bind this, of course. So here, v-model query. So now this input field is directly connected to this. And when we click the button, we call this function, update this with the information from the input field. And then this will be run again, because these are reacting to reactive variables. So save, refresh, job, search. So now you can see query equals job. So now we need to handle this in the backend as well. So let me go back to the views.py. Query equals request.get query empty. And if the query is set, then we can say jobs equals jobs.filter with the title I contains equals query. So if the title is having the query, then we return that job. Make this a little bit bigger. Okay, that's not working. Job search, and then we get this because the title has job, but the other one does not. So if I say computer search, then I get this one. Nice. So now the the browse page is also dynamic, and I can set this to done. So now we can start working on authentication and make it possible to sign up. So the backend for this should already be working automatically, so we just need to open up signup.view and do some changes here. So we had the script set up here as well. And then we need some references so we can get the data from the form here. So let email equals ref can be empty. Password 1, password 2, and I want 1 for keeping track of errors in the form as well. Errors. And then we need to bind these to these. So we model email, password 1, and password 2. And then when we submit this form, we want to call a function. So to do that, we say v-on submit. Submit.prevent, because we need to prevent the default action in the browser. Submit form. So now we call a function which we will call very soon, or create. Sorry, function submit form. And then we also want to do some more changes down here. If there are any errors, then we want to print this. So div class mb-6 py4 px6 bg rows 400 text white rounded-xl, and we only want to render this if there are any errors. So v-if errors.length, and I will loop through them by saying p v-4 error in errors v-bind key error, and inside here we can just print it using the curly braces and say error and save. So we have come a far way now. If I go, sorry, I need to open up the user.py and set this default to false again. Sign up, everything looks as it was before. Nice. So now we can start working on the submit form function. Instead of having this as a regular function, I want it to be an asynchronous function, so we can do stuff here and wait for it to finish. I say console.log submit form, just so I know that that's working. And errors.value can be set to an empty form, just so that we reset this every time we submit the form. And then I want to use the fetch method again, but you need to do it a little bit different here. So await $fetch HTTP ://127.0.0.1 8000 API v1 users. This is one of the users active points. Method needs to be set to post, and then we set the body of the post to be username email.value, so it gets the value from up here, and the password 1.value. And then when that is done, we will get a response back from the server. Read that, and to read that you say .then response, create a function, say console.log response, so we can see what we get. Now we want to redirect us to the login page. So router dot push, and we want to push us to path/login. And I think that I need to import the router at the top here. So const router equals use router, like that. And then we want to handle if there are any errors. So dot catch error, like that. And the code for that looks like this. So we check if the error has a response. And if it is, we loop through each of the data inside there and just push it to the array of errors. And then we show it in the console. And we also show it in the browser. And if the error has a message that just says something went wrong, please try again. So that's everything we need to do there. There are no errors. Refresh. Open up the inspector so we can follow the console here. Let me try to sign up. Submit. Okay, there were no errors. Looks to be fine. I got the email or username back. ID is 2, so the user was created. And if I go here now, go into users, we have a new user, ASDF. Nice. So that means that now we have possibility to create new users. So I can set this as to done, and then we need to make it possible to log in. So the procedure for this will be very similar. So let me just go back to Visual Studio Code, open up login.view, and then I can make a copy of this, just paste it there, and the same with the password, just paste it there, it should just be password and not password 1, and we need to copy the error, so this is length, like that. Copy this and paste it between here, like that. We get errors because we haven't defined them up yet. And I can copy this form handling tag, paste it. So if I now scroll up and make a copy of this, then I can paste it at the top here. Just close the script tag, remove one of these and replace with the correct title. Here I also want to import the user store because we need to call the set token when we get the token from the server. So import use user store from @store/user. So then we just need to use it here as well. So const user store equals use user stores. Now it's initialized and we can use this variable down here. So then I need to copy the sign up functionality here as well. I can just copy the whole submit form and paste it here. So here we need to call a different URL. Here we need to call API v1/token/login, and the body is the same, username, email.value, password is password.value. And when we get things here, we can see what we get, which should be data.auth token, should be what we get from the server. And when we are logged in, we can just redirect this back to the front page for now. What we also want to do here is to call this function with this information. So here is the user store.set token, pass in data.auth token and email.value. And these two values here are the ones we refer to there. So that means that everything here should be okay. Let me try to log in with the user I just created. Submit. Something went wrong. Please try again. Okay, what went wrong? There was not much information there. Let me go to the network tab. Try again. log in. Okay, I get the auto token back, so it should be okay actually. Okay, just then data. Why isn't this working? Okay, so now I was logged in, redirected to the front page, and you can see here that this was set in the local storage. So now the login functionality is also working. We are now logged in. You can see here that I am authenticated, but if I refresh, I'm not authenticated anymore. Done. But I can move it down here, so we can start working on initializing the user store after we refresh. So if I refresh, I will still be logged in. So that means that I need to go to the app.view file and call it here. So here at the top, I can create a new script setup. And then here I can say import on mounted. This is one of the life cycle hooks from Vue. And I want to import the user store. Use user store from @user store. Okay, that's okay. And then I can say const user store to initialize it equals use user store, like that, of course. And when this page is mounted, so on mounted, then I want to call user store.init store. And this, of course, points to this one. So let me try to refresh now. Now you'll see down here that I authenticated when I refresh. Nice. You can also see here that I initialized the user with this information. Perfect. So I can set this task to done. Next step then is to make it possible to log out. So if I just open up default.view, I want the functionality for that to be located here. So when we click this, I can replace it with the anchor tag @click or v-on click, that's the same. Then log out. Just need to replace it there. And there you can see here that I should get the warning, but this doesn't exist. So let me fix it. Function logout user store dot logout. Oh, sorry. Remove token, of course. So if I now click logout, I should be logged out. And if I refresh, I'm not logged in anymore. So let me try to log in again. So now I'm logged in. Perfect. So that means that now I can make it possible to log out as well. Great. So now the step I want to do is to make it possible to go to my job. Whoa, here it's clicking. Yes, because they are not loading the jobs, so the job component is crashing. So my jobs it's not working anymore. So first I can create a new view for this. If I just go to this one, then I can copy this. Oh, sorry, I can just create a brand new one. So class my jobs view, API view. And here I want to set up the authentication classes because you need to be authenticated to get this data. So authentication classes equals authentication dot token authentication. So now I'm pointing to the things you imported up there, and we also need to set permission classes equals permissions dot is authenticated. So you need to be authenticated. And we want to use the token authentication to check that you are authenticated. So now we can use the def get again, like that. And then I want to get the jobs, but I think jobs equals job.object.filter, where created by equals request.user. So you only get the jobs that you have created. So then I can copy these 2 lines because you can use this serializer and save. So now I need to import this to the URLs file. So then I just need to add it here. So let me just copy one of these, replace the categories with my, and say my jobs view as view. So now I should be able to get this. So then I can go back to here again, and then I need to import the unmounted here as well, and a little bit things like that. So let me just copy all of this actually, paste it here, close, and close the script tag like that. And when we are mounted, I want to check if we are authenticated. So if not user store.user.is authenticated, then I want to redirect us to the login page. So here just a router.push login. But if we are authenticated else, then we can say get jobs, which is a function I will create down here. Async function get jobs. Like that. And since we are using the router, we also need to import it. So const router equals use router. And I can create a reference here. Let jobs ref. So now this is a reactive value we are going to use. So then I can scroll down. And then we need to use the fetch function again. Await. Fetch with this $, it's built into all browsers, but since we're using the $, we are also using the Nuxt version of this. So http /127.0.0.1 v1 jobs, API v1 jobs my. And here we need to specify some headers because we need to authenticate ourselves. So headers. And then set authorization token with small letters, space, and then this thing here again, plus user store.user.token. And we need to set the content -type to application/JSON. And then we get some response back. So .then response like that. Jobs.value equals response. Then we can catch the errors if there are any. Catch errors. Error in one singular. Console.log error if there are any, just show them in the console and save. So I still get an error because reading title isn't implemented. So here remove 2 of these. v4 job in jobs, and then vbind, or I can use a key, job.id and job. So refresh my jobs. There are none because I haven't created anyone with this user. But let me change that. Created by ASDF instead. So if I now go back and refresh, I get the job because I own this. Nice. So if I refresh, I still logged in and I get these jobs. Nice. So now the my jobs is also working, and the delete and similar will come soon. But I can set this to done, and now I want to make it possible to create a job. So to do that, I need to create one more view. So let's go back to views.py. Can make a copy of this because I still need authentication classes for that. So Then we can call this create job view. The same clause as there, and then def post. Then we just pass in self and request. We don't need anything more there. Form equals job form. I need to create this. Request.post. So the information we get, request.data, because this is not a direct post request. And if the form.is valid, then we can create it by saying job equals form.save, set commit equals false, because we need to set the created by before things crash. So job.created by equals request.user job.save. And then we can return an information saying that it was created. So return response status job created, or just created. If it's not valid, then we need to show an error. So the error here should be errors, and errors, we want to show them as well. Form.errors. Close that one. So then I just need to create this. I can import it first from forms import job form .forms, and then we can create that file. Forms.py. So this is a very simple model form. We import the job and set up the meta with the model job and the fields we want to be able to fill out in the front end, which is category, title, description, the salary, location, company name, location, and email. So now the error there is gone. Then I just need to add this to the URL as well. So I just copy one of these, replace my with create, and here we want to use the create job view as view. So then we can move on to the front end. So if I just go to create job.view and copy a little bit from the my jobs, okay, copy all of this, go to create job and paste it at the top. Just close this and close the script. Okay, so I can copy one more thing, and that is this one. If you are not authenticated, we can be redirected to the login page. So we can remove this variable as well. And here I also want to get the categories from the backend like we did in browse. So I can copy this line here and paste it below here. So if I now scroll down, we can make this list dynamic. v-4 category in job categories. v-bind : key category.id, and we need to set the value as well. v-bind value category.id, and we can show the title in here, category.title, and we also need to make it possible to bind this to the script up here. So we need to set the v-model on the select clause here, v-model category. So before I continue more here, we can set up all of these references in the top here. So below here, we can say let category equals ref to be an empty string. Make a copy of this for the title and for the description and for all of the other fields. Position, salary, and the position location, and for the 3 company variables as well. Like that. And then we need to set the v models for this down here. just copy this. This should go for the title. This will be the description, the position salary, the position location, and the same with these three for the company. And we can also go to the sign up page and copy the error here, this here, and paste it above the button so we can show errors if there are any. Save, just go back and refresh to see that there are no errors. Can't read, blah blah blah. Okay, get this error here because I haven't defined the errors yet. So at the bottom here, let errors equals ref, and just pass in an empty list. So now the error is gone and all of these fields should be connected to the script up here. So now we just need to pass this information into the backend. And we do that the same way as in sign up. So I can make a copy of the submit form function. We just need to specify a different URL here. Jobs/create. That's the correct URL, yes. And we need to use different body here. So here we need to specify the category. It should be category.value. And the title. And all of the other fields there. Like that. So now we have all the information we want to pass into the backend. And when we have gotten the response back from the server, we can go back to /myjobs. So before we test this, I just want to add some validation to the form here. After we reset this, I want to check if the user has filled out all of the values. So to do that, that's very simple. We just check if the value is empty. Then we say errors, value.push, and then the information we want to show. So we can test this now by going and submit. Okay, there is something wrong with the submit. Sorry, I forgot to add the v-on submit.prevent. Then we need to pass in submit form and save. So we can try again now. Submit, and now we get the list of the errors that are missing. And we also need to check if there are any errors. Then we will not submit the form. And to do that, we just go above this await function here and paste if errors.value is 0, then we can submit this. Save. So if you now try to fill this out, okay, the categories isn't working. Okay, so the problem is the backend. I just need to stop and start the server. And then they are here. So now I can select a category. Just fill in some information here. And submit. So the authentication credentials was not provided. Forgot to do that. It should be here in the headers. So if I just go here, copy these lines from my job, paste, and we can try again. Submit, and now we have 2 jobs. So now we have the possibility to create jobs as well. So we can set this task to done. And then I want to make it possible to delete jobs. So we can begin by creating the view for this. So if I just go to views.py and scroll to the bottom. Actually, I want to use the same as we do for create. So here we can actually just say def delete and add a new method to this view. Here we can pass in self, request, and pk, so we know which job to select and delete. Now we get it from the database by saying job equals job.objects.get, where primary key is primary key, and created by equals request.user, which is you. Now we can just say job.delete. Then we can return a response, so we know in the front end what happened. deleted, like that. Now we just need to change the URLs a little bit. So copy this, and then at the end append delete, and here we also want to use the create job view as view. So now I need to do some changes into the view component again for the job. So job.view. Here I need to define an emit. So when we click here, we want to call a delete function in the parent, which is the my jobs page. So at the top here, I can say const emit equals define emits, and I want to define one called delete job, and we can call this function here. When we delete one, we say async function delete job, and here we want to pass in an ID, and here we also want to use the fetch method. So I can copy a little bit from the create. Let me copy this, paste it here, but the method here should be delete and not post, so that we are reaching this function or method in this view. The jobs here should be /delete at the end, and then we can pass in the ID here. So plus ID, like that, to generate the URL. And then we will get the response back from the server. Not here. Dot then response. Like that, console.log response, so we can see what we get from the server. And then we can call the emit. So emit delete job, and then we pass in the ID so that the parent know which one to remove. And if there are any errors, we just show them in the console. So catch error console.log error. And when that is done, we just need to do one more change at the bottom here for the delete button. Remove this and replace it with anchor tag at click delete job. Here we can pass in the job.id. So when we click this delete job here, we will call this function, and at the end we call this and call it to the parent. So I just need to do some changes in the myjobs.view. Here I need to listen to this delete function here. So below my equals true, you can say v on or at on colon delete job. Then I want to call a function here called delete job. Pass in job.id, which we get from the list here. Actually, it should just be ID because we get ID from the child. So then we just need to create one more function here. Function delete job, pass in the ID. Now we can console log it just to see that everything is okay. And then I just want to filter this list and remove it from there. So jobs.value equals jobs.value.filter job fat arrow job.id, which is not ID. So now I keep everyone that is not this one. So let's try it out. Refresh, open up the console, click delete. User store is not defined. Okay. Okay, so I just need to import the user store here, which the error told me. So take these two lines, go back to job.view, paste it at the top, save, refresh, try to delete it again. Status deleted. Okay, so they was deleted on the server if I refresh, but it didn't removed from the list. So it doesn't seem like this was working. Okay, so I think the problem is that this should be v-on and not @on. So let me try to create a new job just for testing. So now we have one more. Delete, and now it was removed from the list here. I can see here that the ID was 5 and it now is gone. Perfect. So now we can delete jobs as well. And then the next step is make it possible to edit a job. So we can begin with the view for this. So we're still going to use the create a job view. We just need to create one more method in here. Def put self request primary key, and now we get the job the same way as we did here. And then I want to use the job form and say like we did here, but we need to set the instance to be job so that we have some data there, and then just call form.save. And when that is done, we can just return information that it was updated. Save, and then fix the URLs. So copy this, edit, save, and then we need to create a new file in the front end for this. So in the pages we create a new folder called edit job, and in there we create a new file where we use this bracket ID again. So again, I can make a copy of a little bit here because we need some things here. Paste, you can just remove the jobs, remove this, but we need to check if the user is authenticated. Like that. I'm going to add more here soon. And then we need to get the job from the backend, just like we do on the detail page here. So I can copy this, paste it here, and we also need to use the routers, const route, so the route equals use route. So now we have both the router and the route. And then I can make a copy of the created because we need some data here as well. So copy all of this and paste it below where we get this, because we need to wait for this to load. And then instead of setting this to empty, we can set this to job dot we don't want to edit the category. So job dot title dot value. That's wrong. Job dot value dot title. Now we can do this for all of the other here as well. And the errors can just be like that. And then I can go back to create here and make a copy of all of the HTML because that's going to be very similar. Paste it here. You can replace the button title with save changes. And now this data will be automatically bound since we have added this to the ref. Maybe the category needs to be changed a little bit. No, we're not going to edit the category. Like that. Edit job. So if I save now, it will probably not work, but let me update this edit button in the job.view. So edit job slash, this needs to use the correct ID. Let me just copy this, edit job. Click this, so now the form is filled out with all of the information. Then we just need to make it possible to actually handle the submission. So if I then copy this, go back to here, paste it below there, then I need to update this URL. This should end with edit, and then just pass in the ID here. And the ID can be found in route.params .id. We need to pass in the headers, and we can set the category to job.value.category. So we don't have to create a separate serializer just for this. And when we are everything is okay, we are redirected back to my jobs. So now we can test this. Just edited, save changes. Category is not defined. Okay. We don't need the validation there, of course, now. Edited. Save. Still something wrong. Okay, the primary key is missing. Route.params.id should be correct. Let me just try to console log this. Okay, they got an unexpected argument ID, so the error is in the backend. Self-request primary key. The URLs, primary key. Okay, forgot to change one thing in the front end. This should be put and not post. So let me try one more time. Edited, save changes, and now you can see here that this was edited. If I refresh, it's fresh from the server, and everything is okay. Perfect. So then I can go back to the to-do list and set this as done. Then the next step is to implement metadata on the pages, because if you see now, the title for the page is localhost, and this should be my jobs, for example. So to fix that, we need to go back to each of the templates. So if I just close everything here, open up my jobs, you can begin with this one. Then here I should just be able to say use SEO meta and say title create my jobs. I can set the OG title. This is for sharing on Facebook and similar, my jobs. And I can set the description, and I can set actually everything I want here. The description. Save. So if I now go back, you'll see that the title in the browser is my jobs. Nice. So I can copy this and paste it on all of the other pages. The only difference is in the browse this ID. I need to wait for the job to load. So here I can say job.value.title. Job.value.title, job.value.description. So let me try to go into one. Then you can see that the title is updating there and everything is working. So I'm not going to go through all of the pages, but you can do this on all of them if you want to do that. So then I can set this to done as well. And that was basically it for this course. I hope you enjoyed it and that you learned something new. If you have any questions or similar, add a comment below and answer as soon as I can.